Basketball isn't just a game. It's a theater of human emotion and raw ambition. Sometimes these passions turn into the 7 deadly sins. On and off the court, these vices drive players to embody the darkest aspects of human nature. So who are the NBA players that personify each of the deadly sins? The first sin I talk about here is pride. It's the player who believes the world revolves around him. His arrogance fuels his talent, making him unstoppable but isolated. Now, who is the player embodying this cardinal vice? Unfortunately, there are plenty of players that can come under this category, but I would bring attention to Ja Morant. Starting off as Rookie of the Year in 2019, he rose to fame quickly. Being one of the biggest stars in the NBA, he signed a partnership with shoe company Nike and garnered millions of followers on social media with his charming videos. However, soon, his off-the-court antics superseded his on-court performance. Sport critics began suspecting whether he cared about winning just as he did about gathering more followers on social media. Morant struck controversy because of his penchant for Glocks. On March 4, 2023, he flaunted a gun at Instagram Live at a Colorado nightclub. It was a few hours after a loss to the eventual NBA champion Denver Nuggets. His team Grizzlies announced that Morant wouldn't be playing for at least 2 games. Morant issued a statement, announcing that he would be leaving the team for an indefinite amount of time to find better sources to handle his overall well-being. Nike also released a statement, appreciating Jay's act of accountability. The NBA suspended him for 8 games because of the incident. You may have expected him to behave from that point on, but he didn't, disappointing his fans and others who were expecting great things from him on court. On May 14th, he was suspended again from all team activities by the Grizzlies for the same act. He again flashed a weapon during an Instagram Live. The NBA suspended him for 25 games this time. You can see him displaying the weapon here. It seems that his friend has realized the risk he is putting himself at as he turns the phone away from him. However, it was caught online, and this time, the punishment was harsh. Morant was required to complete a program with the league to rectify his behavior. NBA's Commissioner Adam Silver said in a statement, Ja Morant's decision to once again wield a firearm on social media is alarming and disconcerting given his similar conduct in March for which he was already suspended 8 games. The potential for other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning. Under these circumstances, we believe a suspension of 25 games is appropriate and makes clear that engaging in reckless and irresponsible behavior with guns will not be tolerated. Ja also released a statement, apologizing for his actions. He stated, "I've had time to reflect, and I realize how much hurt I've caused. I want to apologize to the NBA, the Grizzlies, my teammates, and the city of Memphis. To Adam Silver, Zach Kleiman, and Robert Pera, who gave me the opportunity to be a professional athlete and have supported me, I'm sorry for the harm that I've done." He returned from suspension in the 2023-24 season, in which he scored 27 of his 34 points in the second half, along with a game-winning shot in a 115-113 win against the New Orleans Pelicans. We can hope that Ja learns from his mistakes and abstains from his online antics in future. The next sin on the list is greed. This would be someone who prefers getting more money over securing higher wins or better performance. These days, many NBA players are criticized for putting money above winning. Earlier, players like Larry Bird, Pete Maravich, Magic Johnson, or Michael Jordan played because they loved basketball. They would come out and give their best to win. They played with heart, blood, and sweat without complaining how many millions of dollars they believed they deserved. But that's not the case anymore. Players are more interested in making money now, which wouldn't be bad if they didn't focus alone on earning bucks. One such player is Carmelo Anthony. Melo's greed became evident when he demanded a trade before the deadline and only gave his team one place to rely on. Basically, he tried to use his status of franchise player. After choosing New York, his focus on money compromised his performance. He was highly regarded as one of the league's top players, but he couldn't pass nor play any defense during his stint. What's more, while being one of the top players, he believed he could control the New York Knicks organization. He wasn't happy with the coaching staff, so he took action and forced Mike D'Antoni to resign. He even gave an ultimatum that either D'Antoni left, or he was gone. According to Spotrac, Anthony earned $262.5 million across his 19 seasons in the association. Here is a glimpse of his lavish house. The next sin we have is lust. It's described as an intense desire for a certain thing. However, its traditional meaning has a connotation of intense sexual desire that is not satiated easily. For this sin, I choose Magic Johnson, a legendary NBA player who had a huge impact on the basketball game. However, at the peak of his career, he led a life full of indulgence and temptations which had long-lasting repercussions for him later. As a superstar in Los Angeles during the 80s, his parties were so sumptuous that they became legendary. He threw the biggest parties in the city after the games. While some people say that this wasn't the accurate representation of how the players behaved, a plethora of articles back then covered Magic's partying and extravagance. He himself spoke at interviews about his sexual desires as a player. While his life is punctuated by athletic stardom, charitable works, and business success, it also has a dark part full of indulgences and privileges. In his own words published in Sports Illustrated, I confess that after I arrived in LA, in 1979, I did my best to accommodate as many women as I could, most of them through unprotected sex. Women from bartenders to business professions met him in discreet afternoon trusts, night-long parties at his home, and short vacation trips in places like the Bahamas and Hawaii. He was named in 2 paternity suits in Ingham County Circuit Court, the details of which were suppressed. In Los Angeles, he gave courtside tickets to women he'd select to cheer him on. He paid for airline tickets and hotel rooms so they could meet him in various cities. He had poolside parties at his mansion in Bel Air, and later at his mansion in Beverly Hills. However, this profligate lifestyle ground to a halt in 1991, as did American baseball for a moment. In a press conference on November 7, 1991, Magic spoke calmly into a microphone, telling the world that he had been diagnosed with HIV. It was a resilient journey, however, as he fought with the disease with an iron heart and iron fist for 30 years. He didn't waste this time at all, engaging in advocacy for AIDS victims and spreading awareness about the disease. He was among the first celebrities to get vaccinated for COVID-19 to break the stigma and tell people that it wasn't a good idea to contract another fatal virus while fighting with one already. The next sin we have is envy. It's the intense desire to possess others' traits, status, abilities, or situation. While it's normal to get impressed by a fellow's capabilities, some NBA players took it too far and turned their jealousy into envy. One such player is Scottie Pippen. Everyone in the basketball world knows that Pippen has no love for Michael Jordan. He has expressed his dislike for him many times to let this be a secret. Every other day, he makes comments about Jordan after his retirement. They may have been on good terms initially, but their relationship deteriorated over time. He accused Jordan of stealing the spotlight and underrating their Bulls colleagues. He also blamed Jordan for claiming editorial sway over the Last Dance documentary series that came out in 2022 and overshadowing their colleagues. Only last year, Pippen came on Stacey King's Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast and reiterated his bitterness for Michael Jordan. He mentioned the documentary as well, saying, "I think the documentary told a lot more, and you couldn't hide it because it's all on video." According to him, the documentary highlighted MJ's attitude towards his teammates, the strained relationship, and Jordan's critical nature. Pippen emphasized that the Bulls' success was not a one-man show, but a team effort. He even elaborated that the free agents were reluctant to sign with the Bulls due to MJ's reputation as a tough teammate. He claimed that there were players who didn't like Jordan, and the series unintentionally revealed this dynamic. Do you think Pippen is correct about the basketball legend or just envious? Because a majority of the players respect and like MJ. So why would anyone make such claims about him? According to some people, this has something to do with the fact that Jordan's son dated Pippen's ex-wife. If it's just envy, Pippen may not find peace and let his bitter emotions fester for long. As in the words of Buddha, he who envies others does not achieve peace. The next sin we are going to talk about is wrath, intense anger that incapacitates one to think straight. If you have been following basketball for some time, I don't think you would disagree that Bill Laimbeer embodies this sin perfectly. Being dubbed as one of the greatest NBA villains, Laimbeer has a lot of violent incidents in his charge sheet. He was one of the most notorious players of the Detroit Pistons and didn't care what people thought about him. If he pulled off the stunts he did back then today, he wouldn't even be in the league. At that time, the league had such a widely circulated saying, "Seeing Laimbeer at the basket is best to give up offense. Because you are likely to pay the price of injury, it may be an exaggeration, but you can get the idea of his notoriety at that time." He had run-ins with many players, including Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, and even Michael Jordan. His brawl with Charles Barkley shocked the basketball fans and remained the topic of many sports talks.
On the horn, Laimbeer follows with the ball, and then Barkley and Laimbeer. Barkley gets in the left, Lane Beer will come back with an uppercut. Lane Beer, who's had that mouse under his eye for most of the season, also had a cut. Both benches empty. It went on for 5 minutes. The fans also got involved in it. It was an ugly situation. You can look for fines. I think the biggest thing to be concerned of for both of these teams is if anybody's going to be suspended for the first round of the playoffs. Both teams jawing at each other. The Pistons did not like the fact that the Sixers clinched the Atlantic Division on their home court. This is really nasty. They tried to go to the locker room. Barkley went into the...
What's more, it started the original fan-player brawl in Detroit. His face-off with Barkley led to the latter going after a Pistons fan. Here is a glimpse of the altercation that led to a full-blown brawl. He is also known as the main instigator of the Jordan rules, introduced by the Pistons. They involved intense physical defense on Jordan, double and triple teaming him at times, and forcing him into uncomfortable positions that forced him to give up the ball. He even threatened to break Jordan's neck in a playoff game in 1990. Here is one instance where he pushed Jordan during a game for no reason. While his antics at the game garnered attention, this wasn't the only reason for his fame. He was also a talented player, helping his team win 2 championships and becoming a 4-time NBA All-Star. He was even called out by the Beastie Boys in the song Tough Guy. Guys, if the Beastie Boys name someone in a song for bad reasons, they truly are a villain. The sin next in line is gluttony, and I would like to talk about Shaquille O'Neal for this one. A massive man, Shaq is 7'1" and used to be 325 pounds at one point in his career. He was indeed a big man for a player. But he made his way into the game and won 4 NBA championships, 3 final MVPs, and an MVP. According to Bleacher Report, O'Neal was once considered the most obese player in the NBA in 2005. He even exceeded 400 pounds at one point in his career. Shaq's later years in the NBA saw him well over 400 lbs. When Shaq entered the league, he reportedly weighed 285 lbs for the Magic. By his 3rd title with the Lakers, he stated he weighed over 415 pounds. He appeared even bigger towards the end of his career with the Celtics and the Cavs. Shaq is one of the biggest superstars in NBA history, both figuratively and literally. With his fame came money and temptations. During his three-peat season, Shaq weighed over 400 pounds and reportedly did not work out in the summer or during practices to save himself for games. This sparked a rivalry with Kobe, who was known as one of the hardest workers and best players in the league. Despite this, the Lakers achieved a three-peat. Even overweight at the start of the season, Shaq gave his all in every game, remaining unstoppable at 7'A" and 400 lbs. Shaq also had a hunger for fame and wealth. He indulged in countless ads and partnerships, becoming a well-renowned business owner and a prominent voice in the NBA. The last sin on our list is sloth, which is described as intense laziness. And for the sin of sloth, my pick is Anthony Bennett. He went from being the #1 overall pick in the NBA to out of the league after just 4 seasons. What led to his rapid decline? The answer lies in the deadly sin of sloth. First, let's talk about his conditioning. Throughout his career, Bennett's struggle to stay in shape was a recurring theme. For an NBA player, maintaining peak physical fitness is non-negotiable, yet Bennett continually fell short. His career averages tell the story: just 12.6 minutes per game and only 4 starts in 151 games. His inability to stay in game-ready shape severely limited his time on the court. Work ethic was another glaring issue. Bennett faced constant criticism from coaches and teammates for his lack of dedication. In the fiercely competitive world of the NBA, hard work and relentless practice are essential. Unfortunately, Bennett's approach was the opposite. His inconsistent performances on the court reflected his poor work ethic, making it impossible for him to secure a starting role. Even on struggling, rebuilding teams, his lack of impact was obvious. Basketball is not just about winning. It's about surviving chaos and saving oneself from falling to temptations and indulgence. On this note, we wrap up today's video about 7 deadly sins as NBA players. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.